Welcome, low ego action heroes. I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, a full service CX and UX agency, and welcome to what we do every Tuesday, which is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. But once a month on the second Tuesday, we do Ask Us Anything with special guests Darren and Dr. Nick. I thought before I brought them in, I would quickly tell you a few fun behind the scenes things. In case you're wondering what it's like to broadcast on YouTube, not run any ads, and put out a small tip jar, YouTube has just let me know that so far this year, I've made $200, and all of it has gone to cheese. Yesterday, I bought Fontina. So thanks everybody for the cheese. So long and thanks for all the cheese, I think is how the quote goes. So just in case you all wanted to be YouTubers when you grow up, you too can look forward to $200 of cheese. Hello, Charlene. Remember, it is Office Hours Ask Us Anything. I'm going to put this up nice and early. If you have a question, deltacx.link/ask or ask it in the chat room. I'm watching LinkedIn and YouTube. Ask. I forgot to pull for the giveaway, so forget about that. All right, let's bring in friendly people and learn more about them and get some questions cooking. Hello, friendly people. That's both of you. Yes. Let's start with Darren. Darren, introduce yourself in case somebody isn't sure who you are.
Okay. Hi, everybody. And thanks for the love. Always love being here. And I love how Debbie and Dr. Nick make me laugh too. Never told y'all that, but I love that. Thank you for helping me laugh. I'm Darren Hood. I am a first generation experience design professional. I've been doing UX related work since 1995. Been working full time in these spaces since 2005. In addition to that, I am also a professor at Kent State University in the Masters of UX Design program. I'm a professor at Lawrence Technological University. I'm about to become a professor at Michigan State and working on Syracuse and Michigan Tech as we speak. So in addition to being a professional, UX professional, I'm also an educator, and I have a passion for building people and helping them be their absolute best.
Mr. Spare Time. Always ask Darren to join your side projects because he's got so much time. And welcome, sitting in his other chair, Dr. Nick. Tell us about you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm still in the same chair, just different position. Okay. I'm Dr. Nick. I'm a UX psychologist. I founded UX Psychology with a guy called David DeCipio. We're both psychologists who couldn't understand why behavioral design wasn't a thing in UX and why psychology wasn't much bigger, and that's what I'm still working on. I'm a working contractor. I'm currently working on a government gig. I'm probably the same as most of you guys. I'm just a lead practitioner who's been doing this for about 10 years. That's about me in a nutshell. I apologize for my setup today. I've got technical issues, which is why we're on cans and a really crappy low-res cam, but it's probably safer for everybody that way.
Can't forgive you not having your back. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. No, really, it's fine. Hasn't anybody go watch the episode I did February 27, 2020, where I'm in the Rome airport as Italy is being locked down and I'm interviewing Michelle Ronson and I'm wearing a mask. Like, talk about low res and not the greatest of circumstances. So we do not judge here. So welcome, welcome. So we normally take questions, and I'm actually not seeing any questions yet. So let me ask you, both of you, because we just did a show last night. Episode 113 was some people who took most of Google's UX Coursera course. And my question is, did either of you... I think I just got that answer. I gotta get you one of those. That escalated fast. Fuck you, don't finish your question. Okay, the price is wrong. Or if anyone has a real long memory of Saturday Night Live, the question is moot, I get the car.
Oh God, that was hilarious.
Wasn't that good? Classic. Reverend Jesse Jackson hosting Saturday Night Live. The question is moot, I get the car. Moving on. No, really. Have either of you formed an opinion of the Google UX course? No. Yes. Darren, did either of you look at it?
No.
I did not look at it. I knew that there were some issues because of the way things were structured. I knew that. I was getting a little bit of feedback from people, but one of the basic things, and I talked about this in my talk that I still got to re-record because of the tech snafus we had during Concentric. But I actually did deliver that talk, the same talk earlier for students at UXD. And one of the things I mentioned was that just like UX is a science, so is education. And when you have people who claim to be educators who know nothing about and have zero respect for the science of education, they know nothing about pedagogy. All these what I call design arrogance. These companies, they've been successful.
Is that like design
in
thinking?
This arena, in this arena,
design arrogance.
It is. It is. And so people just, oh, well, we did all these other things and we were successful, so we're just going to do this. Never mind that nobody asked whether or not we should, but we've got the power and we've got the money, so we will. And so that's what I already knew. This is a problem coming in. I thought yesterday's show was so energetic. It was, if you have anybody out there that has not seen the recording yet, please go to YouTube and at least click on the watch later so you can see it. Everything I said about the Google program, which is standard for us, because when you get used to evaluating things, you see things well before. I don't have to put my hand on the stove to know that it's not good for me to stick my hand in the fire. You see the warning signs, and when you've been around enough, you understand the warning signs. Being an educator, I knew the warning signs. This is not going to work out good at all. Then you see the people cheating. I heard about the cheating. I got early reports on that. People, hey, can you please look at my work and just sign off on it? Because I really want to get this certificate. Then they come back on LinkedIn celebrating that they got a certificate they didn't earn.
A certified Google UX designer.
It's ridiculous. And if you were putting together a proper educational experience, I'm a senior learning experience designer now at Michigan State University. I know how we're supposed to put things together when it comes to a learning experience. And you don't put together an experience where you're going to be judged by your peers. You don't put together an experience that fosters plagiarism and cheating.
You're supposed to run that extra workshop. Well, then on that note,
so I'll stop there.
Keep me posted. Solomon is asking lots of questions. I hope to have Solomon on the show someday. Good. Solomon's got all the good questions. Solomon says, "Hey, Dr. Nick, what makes a good UX psychologist?"
Let me just rephrase your question. The question probably is what makes a UX psychologist in the first place, let alone a good one. And that's something that I'm still actually working out. So that's a good question. The point being they are psychologists or applying psychological principles and knowledge in the practice of UX. It's no more fancy than that. It doesn't need to be fancier than that because there is all this knowledge, all these methodologies, all of these research methods, effectively, that psychology knows about everything else non-digital or non-UX. We have to start applying them. So a good UX psychologist is somebody who's trying to take the principles of science and apply them in a commercial world, and somebody who's bringing not just the methods but the knowledge into the project, the product, the commercial world.
Do they have to have a university degree or advanced degree?
So this is where it gets a little tricky. Yes, it completely helps if you are if you have a science undergrad. I don't care if you've got an arts undergrad, even in psychology, because that's coming at psychology from a different perspective. But when you come at it from a scientific perspective, it's phenomenally powerful, and that's what I know. So I would say yes, it really is very helpful. I'm going to talk about Alan again. You might have heard me talk about Alan. Alan was one of my kind of mentees or colleagues back in previous lives. Alan went to work with a guy, a PhD head of UX at an interaction or UX agency. Alan has got no formal academics, I don't think he has any formal academics. He's one of the best user researchers out there right now and is completely comfortable. He spent 5 years with Dr. Dave in the lab. All the stuff that the three of us have done, we've got the man hours, the flight hours, whatever you call that, the actual experience in different circumstances. And so he's now he's a UX psychologist, because he was trained by a UX psychologist. And that's all I'm trying to do in the world, is try to get more of this out of me and into people's heads.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. We've got a bunch of questions from Solomon, so let's load them up. Darren, you had something to add to the question to Dr. Nick. Go for it.
Yeah, sort of going to piggyback real quick. Beware of people who pretend to be psychologists. There are books out there supposedly about psychology and UX, and the people who wrote the books are not practitioners. They're not psychologists. They don't have any formal training in it. They haven't been applying it at work. They took a psychological factor that already existed, put a pretty picture with it, and then said, voila. And that's not it. But so many people they're so gullible. Gullibility and UX don't go together. So we've got to start dropping that. Listen to the people. Look at someone's credentials.
Critical thinking.
When they're trying to stress something. But yes, critical thinking is a part of UX, but for some reason, there's a bunch of people, they want to get all in without the critical thinking. Without critical thinking, what you're doing is not UX. And if you accept people who are not credentialed, who don't have the knowledge, they got to have something. Any fool can hear a buzzword and throw it out there, and you just go, ooh, I'm gonna say it again. I said it last time. MOTEP, all this stuff. You can't do that. And we got to stop making stars of these people. They want to be celebrities, but they don't bring anything to the table, and I'm not supporting it. And anyway, I'll get off.
Can everybody please screenshot the last two fantastic faces Darren made? Send them to me so I can make emojis for the channel, because between the first one and the Imhotep one, someone. Yeah, that's good.
That's what they are. If you've never seen The Mummy, please watch it. You'll get the drift. I'm sure it's on YouTube, that one little piece. If not, I'm going to find it.
But it's better with you. Okay, so back to... I made a Don Norman emoji. I'm on a roll. Okay, back to questions from Solomon. If you had known what the UX discipline would become today, would you still have pursued it? Nick.
Today's a very bad day to ask me that question. I'm having a tough time all over the place in our industry, personally, professionally, the gig. Probably no, I wouldn't. That's the truth, because UX today is so far divorced from what we started doing all those years ago, 10, 15 years ago, that it's not, I know Darren feels this way. I'm pretty sure Debbie does. And a lot of my peers do, seniors. We've worked really hard. We've made massive sacrifices. We've dug in, spent the hours. I've bled. I can't tell you how much money I've kind of sacrificed and time to become really expert, and stuck to this thing whilst everybody was doing product and social media and whilst all these other things were happening. I stuck to it. And now that I'm here in senior land, it's not very good. It's not what I've worked towards. I can't.
Darren?
Did anybody see the article that Jesse James Garrett wrote for Wired?
Yes.
And that's just, for nothing. Thank you, Alan Cooper. Thank you. These people are letting us know. Even Don Norman said that modern design thinking doesn't work. Modern design thinking is worthless. He said it's worthless. What's going on today? I mortgage my future. I love Dr. Nick really stirred me up on that one, because I walked away from instructional design because it was starting to go through the same exact thing that we see now. People were threatened by technology with instructional design. People were stealing things from one another. People were companies, an unnamed company. I almost said their name. I'm not going to say their name today. Not this time. I know a lot of times I do, but today I won't. Raytheon. They actually
the big red bomb factory, as we used to say in Tucson.
I don't remember everything they were in, but I know that they were one of the main companies that was pumping in all of these PowerPoint jockeys and calling them trainers. And I'm going, you know what? This is bad. I was sitting on the advisory board for Macromedia for one of their products called Captivate. So if you're a Captivate user, I'm actually in that app to this day. But I said, this is getting crazy. Yeah. I got to get, this is not good. And I was freelancing. I was doing web design in the evening. I had my own business in the evening. I said, I really love what I'm doing with this information architecture. I want to go in this direction. So going forward, all these years, I've got 2 UX related master's degrees, which I do regret, by the way, getting the second one, because all I did was set myself up for discrimination. It's already bad enough that I have a higher melanin content than others. So it's already bad enough to deal with this stuff right here. People come up with excuses to dismiss me just because of the color of my skin. So and then when you have all this other stuff, now you got all these people who aren't qualified, who are threatened by you when you know something. I love Dr. Nick. So I'm going to repeat something Dr. Nick said earlier. You work to make yourself as best as you can. And then when you let somebody know the right thing to do something, you're looked at as the bad guy. That's absolutely asinine. It's insane.
Yeah.
So, but I still don't regret it. I don't regret it. All things considered, it's tough. There are times that you might wish, why in the world am I, or you think, why am I here? It's so thankless. It's so ridiculous. You work to be the best you can be, only for people to dismiss you because you worked to be the best you can be. There are people who did. I mean, I constantly get overlooked for jobs and have been overlooked for jobs by people with 1/10 of my qualifications. Can't possibly touch the ROI that I can bring to a company, all because one job I found out about the other day I didn't get. I found out the other guy got the job because he was the neighbor of the hiring manager.
Oh,
are you kidding
man.
me? I just found out about this a few days ago. It was the neighbor. Their kids go to school together, so they gave the guy a chance. Yeah, that's right. When I hear the juniors, we go through a lot. Imagine how you feel when you're a senior if you really get there, and people write you off because you're a threat. They write you off because they don't want to deal with you upholding standards. But I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather be, even in the midst of that. So instead I fight. I ran from instructional design. On this side, I got 2 master's degrees. I'm too invested. I fight.
Nick, were you going to add something before I was going to respond to that?
Yeah, well, I forgot what that bit was, but I'm with you, Darren. But I'm at the end of my fight, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I've been fighting for 10 years, literally. And I'm too old for this shit, man. I just want to do good work with good people. I have to. So I don't want to expose my current gig, but I usually have to work with product and delivery people, much like you people, to achieve what I need. But that often means I've got to fix the mechanism before I can actually do my research. Digital is a mess. I think, although I think digital is a subset of the wider world. And I think if we would talk to people in other industries, they'd probably say, yeah, we got the same.
Yeah.
I'm just checking my calendar. It looks like our next Three Musketeers show will be right before Nick's birthday. So when he talks about being old, next time we'll be wishing you late happy birthday. Sorry. If you want us to have a special show for you, let me know.
Yeah, I'll think of something crazy and fun to do. Yeah.
You think about that, mister. I don't think I have a show planned on your birthday. If you want to come on and say something.
I think it's midweek, isn't it? Or Tuesday or Wednesday, my birthday.
It's a Wednesday. You're in my calendar.
It's a rubbish day for a birthday.
Well, don't worry. It only happens once every 7 years. So my quick answer to that would be every year I'm doing better and better work. And I'm leveling up and I'm trying new things. So I would do it all again. But at the same time, when I look at the carnage around me, I can understand why many people give up. And I feel that. I wish that I had started to fight more earlier. I think I was a little bit too many of us felt in the mid 2010s that some of the stupid stuff we started seeing happening wasn't really going to take off. We figured General Assembly was going to be the only boot camp. Yeah. We figured no one would do lean UX.
Yeah,
we figured Agile would find their way into working with us, not against us. We just kind of assumed a happy path, which isn't really who we're supposed to be. I think we were accidentally untrue to ourselves, but like en masse. And so I think if I could change something, I would go back in time and start fighting a lot earlier. But I would still choose to do this. And I think in the office that hours Ask Me Anything I did with my boyfriend in October, someone asked, like, if you weren't doing this, what would you be? And I think I asked him what he thought I would be, and I think he said music producer. So, like, what would I be? Not even sure. So we've got some more questions. Let's put them up.
Quick. Quick. I think that's a huge point, though. That's a massive point. Just to make it absolutely clear, the stuff that we all laughed at took hold. That was, you know what I mean? It's like we all laughed at, like, that couldn't possibly happen, and now it's real.
Yeah, a lot of us were like, wow, lean UX makes no sense. There's no way anybody's going to do this. And for the most part, nobody did. But then like Scrum.org and Safe Agile picked it up around 2017. And then it was like, now it's being forced on us by people who don't even understand what we do. And so, and so that's why I tell people, when you see a crappy book, go leave bad reviews on Amazon, because lean UX has like 100 good reviews, and almost none of them are from UX people. They're all like engineers, like, hey, thanks. Now I know what to do with UX. And it's like, oh, crap. I wish that Safe Agile had shown up to the Amazon reviews of Lean UX and seen 200 angry UXers giving them 1 star and saying this is not what to do. Nick?
No, go on. Sorry, it disappeared again.
That's all right. I'm going to put up Solomon's next question. Write him down. Where's your paper?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm going to throw one in there. He forgot. I'm going to throw one in there real quick. I did a talk in 2014. I started saying that UX was under siege in 2012. I did a talk in the beginning of 2014, and it was like a David Letterman top 10 kind of talk, where I was talking about the tier to 10 things we learned from 2013. Number 1 on the list was the rise of the poser. And the place erupted in laughter. There was about
Nick calls that the UX cowboy, right?
Yeah. Charlatan.
The rise. Yeah. I have posers, retrofits, and upstarts are the 3 classifications that I give. And then I didn't have upstarts and retrofits yet. I just had poser, and then, man, did they take over.
Yeah, I worked with a poser in 2012, and I deeply hated this guy. And oddly enough, a few years later, we got paired up to both speak on the same panel at some small meetup. And I was doing my 4 Horsemen of UX talk, and he was doing some talk. And his talk is still on YouTube, and so is mine. But I will never forget how he opened up his talk. And I won't say his name, but he goes, "Hi, my name is whatever, and I'm a UX." And I was like, no, you're not. You're absolutely not. And not only that, I've worked with you, and I know that you're completely incompetent. And he gave a totally incompetent talk. And so, that was, I remember in 2012, his resume coming in and me going to the boss and going, don't hire him. And the boss was like, I'm desperate. And I was like, okay, but still don't get this guy. And he's like, no, we're desperate. And he brought the guy in. And I remember the boss pulling me aside one day. He's like, I don't know how to get rid of this. Like, I'm so sorry we got this guy. I don't know what to do. And so it's like, yeah, saw that coming. Nick, something to add before I put up Solomon's question?
Yeah, very quickly. This is a hypothesis. I think if you've been a GA instructor, there's an excellent chance you're a bullshitter, a poser.
GA asked me to be an instructor. There's a few times. There's a lot of stories in that one, but I won't go into that now because the questions are piling up, including one from Bill, who, Bill, we see you, but you are like 4th on the list. So we promise we'll get to you. Let me ask the next question from Solomon, which is related, which is, in spite of all this stuff, how do we stay resilient? Do we stay resilient, considering how muddy the UX discipline is? Darren, you feeling resilient? Scale of 1 to 10.
On the scale of 1 to 10, I'd say 5,000.
Okay.
To me, there is no other choice. There is no other option. I stay resilient. You get knocked down, you get back up. You have the crazy job interview. It's frustrating. You forget it, you move on. You keep your eyes on the prize and you go forward all the time. So for me, there is no other option. You face your disappointments though. Embrace it from a realistic viewpoint. That was crazy. That was a crazy situation. That was a crazy job. Those were crazy people. This is really frustrating. All right, I'm done. All right, water off the sleeve. Let's go. And That's just what I do all the time. You got to go. Sometimes you just need to talk to somebody and unload and tell them how you really feel. But at the end of the day, you got to get up and keep going forward. The discipline is what it is. And I refuse to do anything else. And I refuse to compromise.
Thank you. Nick.
Yeah. It's a good time to ask because I am in the middle of an adverse phase, should we say. Listen, we all have to live with adversity, and I always tell my mentees that winging it is a core competency. You know, you've got to be able to think on your feet. You've got to be able to be in that situation. Yep. But what keeps me going in these dark, dark times is effectively the good versus evil fight. And I know that sounds really grandiose, but that's what really is important to me. I don't see ourselves as good versus evil. It's more like real versus fake, if you want to look at it that way. It's science versus all the posers and the UX cowboys and the charlatans, all the stuff we just talked about. It's those people who have been given an internet platform to broadcast and who are using it either naively or intentionally bastardly for commercial gain. Now, that doesn't make society better, make our working or personal lives any better. And so I'm sitting here, I've been hammered today for just pointing the right things out, you know. I'm still coming back to the good versus evil. This is the right thing to do. It's hairy as hell. I'm getting chunks ripped out of me in parts, you know, and at night I'm not feeling good about myself. But this is what needs to get done in order to take this organization on the journey that it needs to go on. And we're doing it. I honestly, man, I'm done I hope, I don't know if anyone are watching this, but in 2 months, my influence has started to transform a government agency, palpably so. And there are management consultancies out there spending who are charging millions for what I've done in weeks. So yes, Right now, the analogy I used today was I'm a carpenter doing an architecture job. And that's what's bugging me right now. But stay true to your core principles. Why are you in this? Yes. You to make people's lives better, if you're just in it to make money and look good, it's going to suck. And that's not going to help you through these dark hours.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Should I be briefer? Am I being too long?
Well, we have the extended dance remix today, and we don't have too many questions. So, but there are some deeper questions coming. So maybe some lightning versions. One question next was, I don't know if I can find it in the to put it up on the screen, but it was Charlene asked, is there or do you recommend a good master's psychology course in the UK?
No, I can't, unfortunately. But I'll be honest with you. I can hear why you're asking that question because you've already got an undergrad and you want to convert it into a psychology one. And that's good thinking. The value that comes from psychology is at the undergraduate level. So what I would do is say, go buy an introduction to psychology. Go find out whichever Middlesex or UCL or whatever university you're close to or we're at. Ask psychology students what their reading list is today. Find out the 2 books, the introduction book, which is usually the fat tome. In my day, it was Atkinson and something or other. And then the research methods book, because there's always 2, right? The research methods is going to be separate. The research methods book is, so the introduction to psychology book is all the what. It's the framework of social psychology, biological, cognitive, all of those, right? But the research methods is the user researchy bit. Now, you don't need anything past chapter 2 generally. That's going to go into lots of detail about statistical analysis that you don't need to learn t-tests, ANOVAs, and the stuff that. What you do need to learn is the sciencey bit in chapters 1 and 2. Read it again, keep doing it. The principles that you hear me preach of validity, reliability, all of that. That, once you take the sciencey bit of the research methods and you put it with the knowledge, you're laughing. That's the way forward.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you. And Charlene already has a master's. I don't know if you're going to go for a second master's. Darren might tell you not to. Let's see. I think if everywhere you go, everyone's practicing design thinking and they're averse to doing things better, what do you suggest someone do in that situation? That was another Solomon question, but here it is. So if everyone's doing design thinking and they're averse to doing things better, what do you do?
Keep looking. Yes, indeed. Keep looking.
What a lovely voice you have.
Because
The man who
everybody's
tells me he's
not
not a musician.
and that was my silly singing voice. With my potential voiceover work I'm planning to do soon. But the
lowest paying job I can think of, voiceover work.
Oh, I know somebody who's pulling six figures. A few people.
Yeah, everybody knows two people doing it. Go on. I went to voice acting school in San Francisco. There's always two people making a monster living on it because they got Mitsubishi commercial.
Oh, God. I just want to do something basic. I just want to supplement. I've got 4.
Yeah, because you have side time.
Yeah. I will when I graduate. But it you just got truth is everybody, it seems like everybody's doing X. And we have to resist the temptation to fall into that mindset. It seems like everybody's doing design thinking. A lot of juniors say to them, it seems like nobody's hiring entry-level people. You go right down the list. There's always this, everybody's doing it. And all that usually is a statement that's filled with hype. It's not really accurate. And so you just keep hammering away. You keep looking, and every time one job turns you down or one job's doing something crazy, you might not realize it. There's another 1,000 out there. So let's go tap into them. It's painful. It tries your patience when you continue to apply and go through all these interviews and interviewing with some of these people. And so many people have people in the interview process that have no skill at interviewing. They don't know anything about evaluating talent, but you can't let it overwhelm you and cause you to go into a frame of mind where you're not willing to go forward. So everybody's not doing it. Keep going. Beware the big companies. A lot of the big companies are some of the scariest ones to work for, truth be told.
You know what? Let me piggyback that, Darren. I'm going to relate to you something else, which I'll anonymize very briefly. I've been interviewing with a major international brand for a UX director role since my first interview was in February. My second interview was in February, April, and I still haven't heard anything. And after the first one, I thought, no, I didn't hear anything. So obviously I wasn't the guy. It would be nice for them to say something to me, but that was that. I thought that was the end of the world. They got back to me like a month or two later and said, we loved you. You were the front runner. I was like, oh, wow.
When are you going to tell me that?
Yeah. And I haven't heard. And I went second interview. It's now June. From April, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I'm about to withdraw from the race just on principle because that's no way to treat candidates, let alone a leadership role. Yeah. So yes, Darren, what I'm saying is Debbie's HR pack is super huge, but also exactly what you're saying about people don't know. They haven't had. When I started my first interviews, I was not only just chaperoned by HR, I had already been through training. Specific. I think people are just let loose, but recruitment and HR are just they're unrecognizable to me these days.
Yeah.
Katie
from
and
the lazy recruiters.
Katie in LinkedIn says, Darren, please release an album of smooth jazz standards, UX standards, smooth jazz UX standards. Now you've got to write the music too, not just sing it. Jeez.
Well, they probably missed the day that I did that little slow ride rendition at the end of the show too.
Oh my God. Someone pieced together the best of Darren Hood musical adventures. Someone with a lot of spare time. But where's all the fan art? Where's our fan art?
And I watch too much Family Guy, so I'm liable to come out with anything at any given moment. You have Family Guy and from Bugs Bunny to Family Guy, just too much.
To use digital or UX thinking, I can't sing, therefore I don't like what you're doing.
That's how they are, isn't it?
F everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Now we have a question that's really long and I've put it on the screen, but I'm going to try to read it out. This is from Bill on LinkedIn. And he says, I got a question for the group. In grooming sessions, the PMs and DEVs start solutioning design tickets in order for them to give proper shirt sizes for the level of effort. This particular ticket had to do with where to place a checkbox for a function to happen. Does anyone have information on how to combat this? At times, I don't know when to speak up because the devs need to get the info they need in order to give LOE on a ticket, and I don't want to get in the way of that, but I don't want them to solve design ideas, not even a checkbox in a UI. Well, I've got a lot on that, but I'll go last. Darren?
Sure thing. Yeah, they're supposed to be giving shirt sizes based on the perceived level of effort. They don't have to be that accurate. So they're supposed to just be giving you that.
Yeah, that's why
Anytime
they're
I've been in a
estimating in
situation,
fractals and not in
right?
hours.
It's so firstly, buy them all. I'm being facetious when I say this. Buy them all a dictionary so they understand what estimate really means. They're supposed to be giving an estimate, and so nobody is supposed to be solutioning. The truth is, a lot of developers are, I call them closet designers. They don't have design responsibilities, but they want to, and they're back in the closet, hiding back there, trying to do what they can to do some of our job. I just heard about a job that I left where everybody now has Adobe XD. It is the nightmare. It is the UX department's nightmare for a 1,000 plus person IT department. Everybody has access to XD. And when I was there, the developers, that was where I think I told the story about the developer who came into a meeting with a design that they did, a mock-up they did in Paint. Yes, that Paint, Microsoft Paint, the same Paint that we thought didn't exist anymore. And now they've got access to XD. So it's when they start solutioning, I just flat out say, hey, no solutioning. And I'll turn to the project manager and remind them they're not supposed to be solutioning now. No solution. I can't solution, neither can you. Let's do the estimates. And then I turn to them and I hold I don't look at the developers. I deal with the person who has the authority to bring everybody back and back into alignment there. So that's what I do. And if they keep doing that, and then the question is, how long do you think you can take it? And then the same thing that I told Solomon, start looking. Yes, indeed. Start looking, because you just don't want to be in that.
That's
I feel obliged to start singing.
That's crying emoji from Wilson, who said the founder of his company uses Paint, and he's not kidding. Dr. Nick, anything you want to add to Bill's original question about how to stop PMs and devs from solutioning to do their estimates?
Yeah, unpopular advice. Say it in the retro. That's what it's there for.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Number one, I've done it in the retro and I get crucified. So be aware it's at risk and you're going to take shit. But as I said before, it's the right thing to do if you care about quality. Yep. Number two, this is about process. If you don't fix this problem, you will have stunted growth and you'll never really reach UX maturity. And I believe any organization using XD, InVision, or any of those shit things are literally stagnating. So the solution here is prototyping, obviously. And the reason why we all prototype, we're all like jurists, is so that I can go and find out where the checkbox should go, validated this with X number of users, and then give it to devs to estimate all the whatever the hell they want. The point is I've done all the hard work at light iterative effort. Done.
Yeah, I tend to think that this is another way to try to control UX and do the UX. It's because they could just as easily meet with you, Bill, or someone from your team and say, hey, UX, we've got this story coming down the line and it's going to need this, this, and this. How big do you think this is? Small, medium, large? Like, they could absolutely include you in this planning. So while I agree with Darren and Nick, but I think they both gave excellent advice, I would also say get invited to the grooming sessions so that if something is falling into the UX or UI buckets or whatever your realm is, make sure that when something comes up and they're going, well, how big is this? Make sure your voice is being heard and that you're keeping them from solutioning and you're saying, look, we don't know the exact solution for this. We're just here to estimate. We're just here this is t-shirt sizes, small, medium, large, extra large. And how often do engineers get this wrong? Almost always. Not because they're necessarily bad at this, but because it's early estimations. Like, to me, engineering should estimate early, and then engineering should estimate again when we give them wireframes and prototypes. Because they can't really estimate accurately until they see what works best for the customer. Otherwise, it is guess-o-rama, and that's not going to work. So because, Bill, you're saying you don't want them to solve design ideas, we don't either. And I think you have to make sure you're focused on getting involved in such a way that you're not letting them try to come up with design ideas, because it's going to happen next. You're going to go, oh, actually, it's not that a checkbox goes here. It's actually that we need to change this process. And they're going to go, no, we're just going to add a checkbox. Now, F you. You're not a partner. Rocky?
This is Max.
Sorry, I can't tell them apart. Bill, all cats aside, make sure that, because this is part of a game to leave you out, and I, at this point, I see this as a form of gaslighting. It's UX isn't agile, but we're not going to include you, and UX is siloed, but we're not going to include you, and it's part of a very ugly game that I'm working on extra fighting this year. And so that's what I would do. You have to get involved. You can't just sit back and go, oh, well, they're doing it. I sure wish they wouldn't. Gosh, golly. You have to get it. You can't wish for them to stop doing this. They love this shit. So you absolutely have to step in. I like Nick's idea of bringing it up in the retro. And I think you just have to tell people that's not lean. That's not agile. That's not collaborative. The end, everyone's going meow and aw. Okay, next on the list, Kayleen. Oh, Nick, sorry. Did I forget you? What?
No, you didn't. I just want to add one thing, and I'm going to throw it down pretty quick. In development terms, they shouldn't be writing estimating, I don't think, until stories are available. Stories have been written, okay? And then you estimate the story. Where you get to save the day or stop this is you do your work before the story is written, i.e. the story is written from your validated prototype. I hope that helps. Darren.
Yeah, let's also point out what Eugene is saying, which is totally right, Richard, which is you should be looking at dual track or tri-track agile.
Yes.
You should be looking at a process where engineering does not control us. Because remember, and this is what I've added to all of my talks, so you're going to hear me say this all year, there is no other track that engineering controls. Engineering doesn't control marketing. Engineering doesn't control sales. Engineering doesn't, there's a lot of things engineering doesn't control. And the bottom line is you have to look at dual track and tri-track agile as a way to kind of extricate the right Latin word for what I'm looking for, to pull us out from being under control of engineers and product managers and product owners. So thank you, Eugene, for bringing that up. I'm so happy to see you here. It's been a while. And you have a really excellent point there. Bill says, where should we inject these UX solutions into the agile process? Katie says the accent was flawless. Somebody just joined. Thank you. I don't get the name on the screen, but thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, Eugene said, Debbie, I got that from you. Oh, thank you, Eugene. Well, you totally, helped me out there. You got the assist. So Bill says, where do we inject these solutions into the agile process? That has to be planned. The problem is they're not planning for us. And so we're going, hey, we got 2.5 pieces of breadcrumbs here. Where exactly do I do my work? Where do I inject? Where's the right moment for me to inject this? We're not being planned for. We have to be planned for. One of the things that I'm starting to already push for in my talks this year is, I am so tired of being gaslit about UX is not agile. You know how UX would be agile in about 30 seconds? If we had a 1-to-1 ratio of UX and engineers. When I am 1/3 allocated to an agile team of 6 people at a company, and it's 1/3 of me to 6 of you, and you think you want it in a sprint or a day, and there's 1 of me, of course we're not agile. You didn't give me the people, you didn't give me the time, you didn't give me the budget, and then you shit on me for not being agile. Why don't you give me the head count engineering has and the time? 6 people want 8 weeks to do something in engineering, and that's not waterfall? Great. I want 6 people. I want 3 architects and 3 researchers, and I want 8 weeks. And wait till you see what I can do in 8 weeks with 6 people. Oh, blow your pants off in a platonic way. Right. So we're being gaslit with this stuff, and you have to put on your critical thinking hat and go, wait a minute, I could be agile, but I'm not getting the time. I'm not getting the head count. A lot of companies still have 1 UX person to every 8 or 20 developers. So, and then again, even at a place like Macy's and other places I've worked, I was 1/3 allocated. I was on 3 projects at a time. So you get 10 hours a week from me. I'm like a bad part-time freelancer. So where do we
Wow.
sneak this in, Bill? You have to work on the more strategic level and the more planning levels of stuff, and stop looking at tactically, where do I sneak this in? This has to be brought in at strategic and planning levels. Darren.
Yeah, I wanted to throw something in there too. I love this part of the conversation because it's a challenge that we face on a regular basis, and it's one of the reasons why I'm a huge advocate for EQ, focusing on development of that EQ as a UX professional, because a lot of the people, it's funny, people I've come up with in the discipline, people that I've seen entering the discipline, the EQ isn't there. And so it's not popular, as Dr. Nick was saying, to stand up and call something out that needs the team's attention, but it has to be done. So we need to be tactful about it. We need to make sure that we're being professional, and that we are letting people know what it is that we need to bring attention to, what we need to be aware of, how we need to, we're the voice of reason. I heard somebody say that early in my career, and I fell in love with that. It's true. The UXers are the voice of reason, but if we're cowardly, which is what I was trying to get to, a lot of people I've seen, there's a cowardly streak. They don't want when you bring something up, you don't have to be in somebody's face. People think that I'm in everybody's face because they ascribe a tone to something that I've typed and posted to LinkedIn. They haven't heard me say it, so they don't really understand the tone that's behind it, and they don't understand the sentiment that's behind it and the care that's behind it. They act like everything I say is rah, 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 rah. Oh, here we go again, another voice. They think that everything I say is like that, and if you hear anything that even remotely sounds like that, I'm being passionate. I'm not being mean. I'm not being hateful. I'm not being unprofessional. There's no absence of tact. So as long as you're tactful and professional, you can let people know, hey, folks, we need to pay attention to X, Y, and Z. We're going to have a potential problem. You got to let them know, but don't be the coward. There's way too many cowards in UX today. They're afraid. They know something's wrong. They are afraid to say anything, whether it's tactful. They could put it with a little violin or whatever, or do a banjo and do a soft shoe. They did, this whatever and the figurative equivalent of any of those things. People don't want to say anything because they don't want to be the one that, in the minds of many, are rocking the boat, when the boat needs to be rocked sometimes. And when that boat needs to be rocked, a lot of times it is the UX person who has the responsibility of rocking the boat, because we're the one who sees it.
Well, that's why I say we are change agents and not,
yes.
We shouldn't be order takers, pair of hands, people. I should get back to our questions. Can I
answer, Bill?
Yes.
Bill, do you have if you can answer, if you have a delivery lead, on my journey, that's definitely the person to go talk to, because there's some mechanical issues here, and they're the main head mechanic. We need to get that process flowing, and you in the right place, and those cogs all aligned. And in my mind, my experience, that's a delivery lead's role, and I think every product team should have one. I know every technical team's got one. This is a particularly current problem, it's a current issue that I've been discussing with colleagues today. So I'm very interested to hear from Darren, Debbie, anybody else. Is delivery leads common? Is that the right thing, or is this a unique thing that I'm saying?
It's supposed to be a position in some flavors of Agile, so he could have a delivery lead. I would also say if you have someone in DevOps, because a lot of people think of DevOps as Kubernetes clusters and CI/CD pipelines, but there are some people who approach DevOps as a cultural shift in companies, and they are trying to shepherd improved culture for engineering and the people interacting with them. So that's not going to be every DevOps person you meet, but maybe take the temperature of any DevOps people you have to see if they believe that part of developer operations is improving culture and process, or if they think it's just a release pipeline. So I'll see what he says, and I will let you know. Oh, Ralitza also says, speak to your Scrum Master or your Agile coach. They should be able to help with that too. So yeah. And Kayleen says, yeah, the lead is so important. My boyfriend just learned that a team wasn't involved in a portion of his project, and now the project is going to be delayed by 6 months to a year. Yeah, as I say in all of my talks, that we are risk mitigators. We are risk
Yes.
finders and mitigators. And even if you use us just as that, that's a start. It's not all we can do and it's not all we should do, but it's a start. We are engineering's risk finding and risk mitigating R before D team. Okay, quick one for Darren. Lightning version, Darren. Yes. I challenge you. Kayleen says she's intrigued and interested in instructional learning design. Why did you run from it?
Because not only were we being overtaken by posers and retrofits and upstarts in the instructional design world, it sounds just like what's happening in UX a lot today. The organizations don't understand what the instructional designers and what the trainers did. They didn't ascribe the appropriate value. There was always somebody who wanted to do the training who didn't know anything about the training. And between those three moving parts, it really had a severely detrimental, it wiped instructional design almost off the map. There are still instructional designers today, but a lot of people left the field and we all got run out. And it was left like what UX, if we don't keep fighting like what we're doing right now, we're subject to this.
It'll all be design thinkers.
I've been sitting watching the same exact thing happen to UX that I saw happen to instructional design. And so we didn't get paid anything as instructional designers anyway, so that was easy to walk away as well. But it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth staying. Nobody cared about the fact that you could put together CBT. Nobody cared about the fact that you could. I delivered so much software training in the company where I worked at that back in the day was New Horizons and Skillshare. We're doing a huge chunk of the software training in the corporate world. Not only were my courses delivered in-house for free, people said they got more out of 2 half-day sessions with me than they got out of being at New Horizons for a week. But how many people got an opportunity to do something like that? And I certainly was not getting the job satisfaction out of it in the long run because of the lack of value ascribed, because of the lack of understanding. So I walked away, and I enjoyed UX a lot more. We didn't call it UX then, but I walked away because it was more fulfilling.
All right, let's keep going because we're almost an hour in and we have a long list of questions. Nick, you were furiously writing. Was it about this or something else?
No, keep going. Okay,
it sounded like you had a big marker and you were filling out your match game card. Okay. We got an anonymous thing that said, I just wanted to thank you for all of your great advice. I just landed what I hope to be a very different job, still UX, but a very different environment. Thank you for all you do and to help me identify red flags and bad UX practices. Heart emoji. So that came in anonymously. Thank you. Here's a new question. Let's see. Did I put this in the list? No. They were going too fast. I couldn't even get them on my list. Say a UX designer is looking to shift gears to work specifically as a UX researcher. What advice would you folks have for someone to make that shift? I do quite a bit of that work in my current day-to-day, and after several years of it, I found it's the thing I enjoy the most. Shifting from design to research. Any suggestions for Scott? Uh-oh. No. Nothing from Nick.
Just go for it.
I really don't. I was deferring.
I would say just, all the I don't know if you're listening to this earlier, but when I talked about the introduction to psychology and research methods, effectively everything comes back to that. The only thing I would worry about is that you haven't I don't know if you have or haven't had any formal training. So if you're going to go into user research kind of more formally, as rather than being an all-in-one full stack type practitioner, is try to fill in and make sure that you haven't developed any bad habits that have gone unchecked, because that's a real problem around. If you're completely open-minded and you can work with mentors and correct that, fantastic. Other people have a harder time with that, so try to get rid of them before you become a specialist.
Darren, anything to add?
Yes. One of the things I'd say is make sure that if you want to go in that direction, you say that you've been doing UX research a lot in your day-to-day operations. So make sure that you're representing this in your portfolio. Make sure that you're, and not everything, but some of the best things that you can use to display when you're going after these jobs. Also, you want to make sure as you're trying to land a UX research job, make sure you're asking the right questions during the interview process. Make sure you're interviewing them and don't just let them interview you, because a lot of companies say UX research, and you'll find out that what they're doing really doesn't constitute UX research. So you don't want to go into what I call the opportunity paradox. I've been saying it a lot more lately, so I'm just going to throw it out there again. Something looks like an opportunity, and you don't find out it's not until you get in there. And then you find out you wanted to do research, and all they want you to do, all you get to do is some guerrilla testing. You want to do research, and you find out that when you come up with different, you see how different types of methods would be beneficial and applicable, but they won't let you do it. And then the next thing you know, you're not doing research anymore. So these types of things, you need to find out what their maturity level is going in. You need to find out, get some examples of how they're conducting research before you go in. If you're going to be building something almost from the ground up, then you want to know that too. But don't just be so excited to get a UX research job that you'll take the first or second or third thing that comes along. Make sure that it's valid. Make sure that it's something that you want to do and that it's the right company. You don't want to find out after the fact.
And we've got, I think, Larry Marine in LinkedIn. It's coming up as a LinkedIn user for me. I'm not saying your name. I don't know why. But it says, Scott, learn and practice critical thinking skills. Learn to see what's missing, not just what's there. Woo! Denise, I see your question, but you're 8 millionth on the list. So I'm going to add you to the list, and let's do that. The Kayleen had another quick question, which was, anybody have experience or connections to sound design? I do not. I don't know anybody.
I'm surprised.
Debbie,
I thought that would be all you audio goddess and soundy thingy.
Well, thank you, but no, I never got into. Whoop, we lost Nick. Nick, can you hear us?
I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, I'm an idiot. User error.
You're not an idiot. You're lovely.
No.
So
back in the day when Flash was a thing, there was a little bit of inclusion. We ready to do that.
I did that the other day. Wait, where's Elijah? I did that the other day, and my dog ran over and sang the same note. And I was on a call with Elijah, and he will tell you that actually happened, where I sang the Queen Flash Gordon team, and my dog came over and sang the same notes. I do not have that recorded. The movie is terrible. Do not see the movie.
You do that around some people. They don't know. They didn't see the movie, so they don't know what you're doing. But when somebody sees it, it always you get that laugh, that great laugh out of it.
Yeah.
You have to get a viral TikTok out of that one.
I don't do TikTok. Yes. I'm old and crusty.
What if it's worth £2 million to you?
That it wouldn't be.
Okay.
You can't convince me with
monetize
bullshit.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Fiverr?
But
right.
But back to the Flash.
Here's the fish and chips.
Back when Flash was a thing, that's about as far as I got into sound design. But that audio or aural, that'd be the technical term, AURAL, that aural design. It's something. It was brought into what happened. Is she crunching?
It's like Ben Smithwellow's here.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
But that was it. That was the extent of it for me, because somebody would interact with something, and you had to have a sound that went along with it in order to make the experience complete. You had to give some type of audio feedback.
I think the lightning answer is no, Kayleen. We don't know anybody. Sorry.
Yeah.
But look at the book Micro Interactions. I'm sure it's in there.
Maybe.
Who wrote Micro Interactions? I can't remember his name. It wasn't Jesse James Garrett. One of them. Thank you. Thank you.
We have a question asking us to say something nice. Why is it so depressing? Why is it so black and white? What's a positive thing about today's UX? Oh, you're getting the bat. Oh,
let's get some props.
All right.
Right.
Stars can't shine without darkness.
Where's my fucking? Sorry, there we go. Yeah, there's some positivity for you. You know, yes, it gets dark, but that's where we shine. You know, and I'm shining in the dark right now. It's just the darkness is starting to take me down. But the point is, stay strong and stick to your core principles.
Yep. And I would also say, so that we avoid toxic positivity, anytime you see something that, number one, somebody may have seen me post about this before. Technically, there's no such thing as negative. It's either constructive or destructive. When you look at negative, then you're looking for warm, fuzzy feelings and all that, which is contradictory, and it's going to bite you in the end. So when you see something like some of the red flags that we're calling out, think about the parallel of a red flag. If you had a nail in your car, would you want to know? In your tire, would you want to know? If you had something in your nose and you were about to get up and give a presentation, would you want to know? If your car was about to run out of gas, would you want to know? Are those things negative? No. So when you are a constructive individual and you see a red flag, you take action. So everything we're calling out, there's nothing negative about it. It just means that we need to take the appropriate action and counter it.
Have you guys heard of watermelon reporting? It was something that I learned from my program manager when I joined this gig. Watermelon reporting? Watermelon reporting is green on the outside and red on the inside. And I think that's kind of toxic positivity right there. It's like saying everything's green, everything's great. But once you scratch the surface, it gets red fast.
Yeah. And luckily Elijah is here to confirm that my dog sang the Flash Gordon theme.
Proof or it didn't happen.
You got to trust him. Come on. I mean, you can't. Science, I don't baby. Lie, but yeah, you gotta trust him. All right, we have so many questions. Let's keep going. Let's try some lightning rounds because we have an hour left. Unless you have to go to the toilet. What advice would you give for self-educating or upskilling within UX? Some of the absolute do's. I think we give a lot of don'ts. Do we have any do's?
Books. Yeah, I do. Good books.
Polar bear
Good books. Check out my book. Check out my book recommendation list. I've got 3 of them. I've got one general book recommendation list. I've got one that focuses on cognitive psychology, and I have another one that focuses on interaction design. Even on my big list, I've got some EQ recommendations on there. We're always building. Always, always, always building.
Mm-hmm.
Nick?
Honestly, I mentorship is the best way. Think of learning like agility and user research. You just do it all the way through product or service development. And actually, UX education happens all the way through your career. It isn't something that happens up front and then you go into the career. So find somewhere that will accept you as a lovely person and really with the right attitude. And the rest we can fill in. That's all I need is a blank slate and the right attitude.
Yeah, I'd probably echo that. I usually just say mentoring or coaching because people expect mentoring to be free and they expect to pay for coaching. And I think that there's a lot of things that people pay for and they don't realize that UX help could be one of them. You pay for tennis lessons, you paid for taekwondo, you paid to go learn how to make sushi, you paid for all these things. There's also not everybody can do endless UX mentoring for free. Some people do charge, and it's up to you if you want to, budget for that. Darren.
Yeah, I did forget one thing. I did an episode on my podcast called The Importance of a Personalized Learning Network, or a PLN. And that taps into what Dr. Nick was saying about that lifelong learning, which when you get into UX, you're committed to lifelong learning. If you look up that The World of UX on Spotify or wherever you like to get your podcast, you'll see the episode there about the importance of a personalized learning network. It gives you the entire strategy for structuring that, and you just build it and you just keep building it and switching things out and adding things to it. And that's how you continue to upskill on a regular basis.
Okay, accidentally similar question. How much help is it okay to ask for from a mentor? Where's the boundary on what a mentee shouldn't ask for guidance and advice? I don't mean asking them to perform a task instead of us or something similar. So what would you say? Boundaries. Is there anything that up-and-coming UX person or an established UX person shouldn't ask their mentor for help with? Nick?
This is a personal thing. Obviously, everybody is different. Every mentor has a different style. So it's, I just can give you my opinion. Everything is open with me. As you can tell, I'm an open book, and the way I handle my business, shall we say, is completely authentic and open. And if your dog's not well and you're feeling sad about it, that's fine too. If you also want to know how to solve a technical problem or strategy, that's cool too. It's about putting that wing around you and just being there for you so that you can at least get a great start to then build yourself further.
Darren, any boundaries for you?
One for me that I've been thinking about lately, of course, we all get people who constantly are asking us for help and things like that. Can you review my portfolio? Can you spend some time to coach me and things like this? The one thing, and I love helping everybody, like Debbie and like Dr. Nick, but there's one, Peter Griffin voice, there's one thing that grinds my gears, and it's when people don't respect your time. When they ask you to do something as if you're sitting under a tree sipping iced tea.
Right.
We are busy. When you have the level of knowledge and acumen that we have, we didn't get there by frankly scratching our butts. And it takes a lot to maintain and go forward. And people ask you something sometime like you got all the time in the world, and you can hear it in there. I mean, I've been like discerning tones and reading emails for a long time. So when somebody is being overly assumptive and not really respectful of your time, it is conveyed in the way that they talk sometimes in email. And so I just have to back up and try to, okay, let's schedule some time or whatever the case might be. But a lot of times people are disrespecting. It takes a lot. You're trying to get at least some semblance of what we've got. Know that it takes a lot to get there. It's going to take a lot for you to get there. It took a lot for us to get there. And when people just like blow off your time, like they just like, no, I've got a family. I'm in school. I literally have 12 jobs, literally.
We know.
There's a lot of stuff I do that nobody even knows about. So, and I've got,
that's like what the mafia used to say to me.
Definitely not that. Guaranteed not that. But I'm busy. And so, do you have time? There's a way to be respectful when you're requesting somebody's time. I wish people would do more of that. I don't mind helping, but please don't be disrespectful.
Yeah, so for boundaries on what people should ask for advice and guidance, like Dr. Nick, I don't really have any boundaries. I don't think there's anything anybody would ask me that I would refuse to answer. The boundaries that I tend to have are to try to respect my own time. I give everybody a short call for free, and after that I do charge for my time. So I sometimes find it disrespectful where someone tries to keep signing up for the free version when I try to just do that once. Otherwise, I would, I tend to work 70 to 80 hour work weeks, and so so for people to be like, yeah, I'd like an hour of your time because I'm new to UX and I want to know. And so usually it's something that's already in my videos, and it'd be like, please check my YouTube channel. I've got 12 videos on that. Then ask me for anything that's missing. So I think that other than do my work for me, there isn't anything that I wouldn't say no to anybody. But I will say I had someone book my paid time twice last year. I think they did the free one and then the paid one. And both times they asked me to help them adjust their resume to make it look like they'd been doing UX work when they hadn't. And that's, of course, where I'm going to say no. Because they were hoping to get an entry-level UX job that was looking for a little bit of experience or something like that. I'm not going to tell the story 100% accurately. I don't want to, clue anybody in. But they were trying to get into UX, and they thought it would help if they could kind of re-describe some of their jobs on their resume and make them sound more UX-y. And I kept saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And they'd be like, well, it's not really a problem for me to get more education in this later. And I was like, great, see you then. And they kept saying a bunch of really strange things. And I was really surprised to see them the second time. And I just said, I'm still not, thanks for paying for the time, but I'm still not going to do this. So I don't mind that she asked, but she needs to take no for an answer. And, after 2 calls, she did. So I think you can always ask for anything that's legal and appropriate, but just know that you just might bump into somebody saying, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do your work, and I'm not going to tell you how to cheat and lie. Okay, moving on.
Made me think of, I was just going to say, if I could, you just made me think of one other thing. I was trying to figure out how to express this, but I've also, we put ourselves out there a lot. people don't realize, I say this a lot, we make a lot of sacrifices to be as transparent as we're being and doing things like this. And one of the things I have to admit, I'm a little leery sometimes. I love helping people, but I am admittedly leery about helping people sometimes because I've been, how do you call it? Hornswoggled.
I've got to interrupt you. Look at what Charlene just posted. Someone asked her for her portfolio so they could send it and get accepted for a master's UX course.
I'm not surprised.
That's why my portfolio is behind a password.
It's password protected. Yes, me too.
Yes.
Because I found out that people steal. They will steal your portfolios. Sometimes people will act like anybody ever seen this? They act like they're recruiters and they ask you for your information and you never hear anything else again because they really just wanted to get into your stuff and steal it.
Wow.
I mean, this is how far some people are actually going out here, which is parallel, which is right on line with what I said about being leery. I get leery because of some things I've experienced, and I've put myself in a position to help people, to help people get jobs. I put myself in a position to review people's portfolios, and they do some of the most dastardly things in response to you helping them. So, you know, when you reach out to get help from folks like this, and I'll sort of say this for everybody, understand our side of things a little bit too. You know, I'll challenge you to be more sympathetic, if not empathetic, that we endure a lot to help people. We offer people advice, and then the people like step on us for no reason whatsoever. And it's disheartening. It really is. And we keep to one of the comments that came up earlier, questions. We're resilient and we continue to go forward and do what we do. But folks need to understand that even when you're asking for help, know what's happening on our side. We're not like that I think I mentioned a cartoon.
And I also want to cover what Kayleen is saying, if maybe both of you can address, because it's a follow-up question. Let's say you're speaking somewhere or whatever, and you say, hey, if you have a question, you message me. You know, I'm friendly. I'm on LinkedIn. Message me. What I get from Kayleen's question is, at what point do people like you or me feel like, this person is messaging me too much? Like, do you, and when you hit that point with someone, do you say something or what do you do? How do we let people know when they've reached some sort of point? My thought would be you probably would need to say, hey, you know, you have so many questions. This really should be a coaching call.
I guess I'll go ahead and jump in here. I just tell them once they've reached that threshold. You know, we talk about annoyance threshold when we're doing UX work. When we've reached that annoyance threshold, we got to tell them. I just came off of a staycation. I was on staycation for 2 weeks. I've never received so many messages, so many asks in LinkedIn as the time that I was on staycation. I had to let people know, hey, can you spend some time to talk with me? I would really love to help you. I really would. But I'm on staycation. Here's a link. Reserve some time. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I just let them know. But I do it tactfully and respectfully, and we're done. But I'm not going to sit there and let them wear me out. I got homework to do. You know, my wife and I are going to dinner, whatever it is, and they don't need to know those details. I just, hey, okay, we've reached a limit. I'll have to talk to you later.
And I want to quickly say, because the chat room is freaking out over the stolen portfolio thing. First of all, not everybody is out there stealing everybody's portfolios. And from what I hear, many, certainly not all, but many people get found out when they go into an interview and the person says, talk me through this project and tell me about some decisions you made and some decisions you didn't make. And the person cannot tell the story because the project wasn't theirs. So please, you can all put your portfolios behind a password if you want, but just remember the number one things happening to portfolios right now is probably not theft. It's probably, especially for you newbies, no offense, nobody wants your portfolio. So I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to steal your career foundry project. So no offense there. Katie in LinkedIn says, you've reached the end of your free mentoring trial. To continue with your coaching, please schedule a call using the following link.
Yep.
That works.
Nick, how do you handle people who seem to want too much free mentoring?
I haven't had that, but I do get a lot of people on LinkedIn who message me with their portfolios and wanting a critique and all of that sort of thing. I have to ignore them, unfortunately, when I don't have the time. Like today, I've been user testing or I'm in a user research phase. You can forget it, right? I mean, it's not going to happen. So the way I see it, it's a bit like feeding animals, and I'm not referring to people as animals at all. I'm just saying it's a bit like conditioning, shall we say, right? It's how you, the mentor, handle your relation with the mentee. When I was in a 12-step program in my 20s, many moons ago, I had a sponsor to help me through recovery. And at first I was calling them every 5 minutes and they were like, dude, come on, man, I've got my own shit to deal with here, right? And it's the same kind of, it's very analogous here. It's you kind of need to save them all up and then take all your grievances in one session to the person rather than piecemeal. Like try to think a bit more wholemeal if you can. But like I said, Darren said, if you haven't got the time and you can't, you just can't. Shit happens.
All right, fair enough. Moving on. And just a quick reminder, everybody, you can subscribe on the YouTube channel. I think we're just passing 2,100 subscribers. Ring that bell. We've got the Slack channel, which has over 700 people and a lot of new channels, so people are having a much more organized experience there. The tip jar is always available and totally optional, goes towards cheese. And if you're watching on YouTube, please empathize with the like button and let YouTube algorithm know you enjoyed this. And what else can I tell you there? So our next question is, hey, what is the difference between a task flow and a user flow, and how many should you typically make of each?
Wow.
I'm going to ask Larry Marine to answer that one.
That's a great person to answer that question. Go for it, Lazar.
Right. So I would say...
Larry, though?
Well, I don't know when
ahead.
he'll see it. He's on LinkedIn. But my quick answer would be there's never an exact number of anything that you need to do. So please don't think in terms of hard frameworks or rules, or there's no laws of UX. It's not like when you are in a project, make 2 user flows and 1 task flow.
Right.
It's not like that. You have to, typically the task flow or task analysis is being done from observational research. Larry says I only have 200 characters. He's moved over to YouTube. Now he's already panicking. Larry, send me something in Slack and I'll read it out. So
Can I chime in on one aspect?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is another one of those things where terminology is an issue, where people use those two things interchangeably and they're not always interchangeable. A task is about just that. It's about a task. A user flow, depending upon who you're talking to, it could be talking about a journey map.
Thank you.
So, it's always
Hallelujah.
good. It's always good
Katie. Thank you,
Right,
Katie,
awesome.
for the cheese. Thank you, Katie.
It's always good to understand what's really needed. And if you're doing a task flow, then you focus on the task flow. If you're looking at the user flow, you're looking at a broader picture. It's a little bit more than a task flow. And I'll leave it at that. And here comes Larry.
I've got to put this up for Larry getting this to under 200 characters where YouTube cuts him off. It says, user flows represent how to use an existing design. Task flows are solution agnostic. They are more about the way that someone attempts to accomplish a task versus, he says, what Darren said, versus how they flow through the particular solution. Katie says cheese. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate it.
I'll be honest, guys. What Darren said is so on point with my experience. It's all a journey to me, and it's like that Larry and you are both saying. It depends how you focus that journey on what the needs of that journey are, whether it's more task or this or, So it's never done me any harm, and I've never had any problems with it. Journey mapping has always done the job that it needed to on my projects.
Okay. Larry, if you have anything to add, keep typing it and I'll yell it out, but I'm going to move on to the next question, which I remember being from Denise, which was, what do you advise to keep my sanity whenever a dev or product owner tries to do my job?
You remind
I
me
don't
of
know
the
how to say this
story.
tactically.
Yeah.
Go on, man.
Oh, I don't think you have
Go
to
ahead.
say it
Go
tactically.
ahead,
No, no,
Doctor.
no,
Go
no.
ahead,
You go.
Doctor Nick.
No, 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 no. You
Okay,
go. I'll be
go.
rude.
The paint story. So I get to tell the paint story. So we're working on a design, and I come in. We've been working for a while now. It's an agile project. We come in to a meeting one day, and one of the developers just gets up and says, "Hey, I've got this design, right? I want to show everybody." And first I'm going, "Why are you showing us a design when that's not your job?" Number one. And so I just sat back, and I like watching people stick their foot in their mouth. So it makes it easier for you to address it. Get it in there real good. Stick it in there. Stick those toes in there real good. Get it down to the metatarsals. So so the guy brings out, he said, "Yeah, and I did this in paint." And like you could see people's faces fall off. It's like Wile E. Coyote, the road runner just ran off, kind of face fall off kind of stuff. And then I just said, "You're not supposed to be doing that." I wait until the foot is fully inserted in mouth and then address it so that the whole team has to deal with it. Now, you can't do that without backlash. So you either take the person to the side and talk to them, or you're going to have to, depending upon the circumstances, you might have to address it, which I had to do in that moment. And it's just one of those things. The developers were constantly, as I said earlier, they're closet designers. They want an excuse to do something to commandeer the UX. And it's relatively common in our world, no matter where somebody is working and what company it's at. It's likely to happen. And you just have to be courageous enough to address it, be tactful, be professional, be respectful. Don't disrespect the person. They were out of line, but that doesn't mean we have to respond in kind with that. So we have to sort of address it. You might have to bring in a delivery lead or as we mentioned earlier, a project manager or somebody to help address it. But that's what I did. Because paint, are you kidding me? But I had to throw that out. Let's just deal with what we're doing here with regard to the work. The developers are not supposed to be to respect what other people are bringing to the table, and let's get the job done. I have to, and then you have to labor to get that kind of commitment, because once they violate that.
Quick apology to everybody. My Wi-Fi just blipped, so you might have seen the stream go down for a few seconds. Thanks, Maggie. Thank you so much. This cheese is for you. My friend Gregor said you should do a cheese minute on your broadcasts where you show people the cheese you bought and give it a review.
Yes.
So that they see like the full circle of their donations. So we'll have to
cheese education.
We'll have to include the cheese minute in the future. Yesterday, I bought the mini mozzarella balls. Oh, those were very nice. Yeah, that was my Wi-Fi, everybody. Sorry. But good to take a breath and take a look at answers. So Denise, if I remember correctly, your manager is the head of engineering. So it's unlikely that you're going to get the support that we all wish you would get, because obviously if you had a manager who is UX or possibly even product, maybe sometimes they'll look out for you. But when you have a manager who's head of engineering or an engineer, they probably don't really understand what you do. And so they don't think there's anything wrong with them doing your jobs. I can only suggest sending them some of the talks that I've been doing to explain to engineers what UX people do and why you can't have everybody do their jobs. I have a whole bunch of stuff on that, Denise. So let me, you can look at, I did, what was it? Episode 109 is my improving agility talk. Funny enough, we did that a month ago and I've already completely rewritten it. So at some point I've got to redo it. But I think it was episode 109. That's got some ammunition in there for you. But I would say have a watch party because I believe you're in Germany and I believe everybody should speak English. So have a watch party and and see if everybody will watch the Improving Agility talk. And another thing I'm offering to do right now, which was misunderstood on LinkedIn, so I took the post down, I'm offering to talk to anybody's company that needs this kind of help. I'm not going to charge for my time. I will have a call with your manager, with your engineering lead, with your agile coach, with your CEO, with your whoever. I will have a call with them and talk to them and answer their questions. I'm actually doing an hour-and-a-half presentation and Q&A on Friday for a very famous Fortune 100 American company, and I'm not charging because I am just trying to get it out there. Should I be paid? Absolutely. Right now, I'm willing to not be paid to try to create change. Kayleen says, could Denise request her own team? Who would you go to for that request? I was under the impression Denise's company wasn't that huge. She might be the team, so I'm not sure. Oh, Larry's telling this story again, which is always totally cringeworthy and take a drink. We spent a year designing a large website with over 1,000 pages. When we were done, the president said his wife reviewed the design over the weekend and had some suggestions. So Denise, have heart. It's not a good situation, but it happens to everybody, including the super capable and glamorous Larry Marine. So sorry that we didn't have a better answer for you, but I'm hoping that some of my videos and some of my content on how this hurts agility will hopefully be, because nobody cares what UX is or what we do, and they barely care about the customer. We have to come around the other way and say, this isn't agile, this isn't lean, and this is waste. CEO's wife doing the swoop and poop, Scott's written. Question to the three amigos. Reflecting on your long-term experience, what's the ratio of organizations you worked for that had their business cases defined to those who did not have business cases defined? Darren, you've got question face there.
No, because I'm not understanding the question.
Business cases defined. I wonder if they mean like, did they have their strategies in place? I'm not too sure myself. Business cases defined. Who asked that? I didn't write down who's asking questions today. It came before Kayleen's question from her boyfriend, which would be next.
Can I just answer the previous question really quickly?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's okay. The one about product people and devs and wives and husbands and the cat. Just test it. That's the way I look at these things. Is you say I'll take all these ideas. I'll just test it. Some of these ideas are obviously batshit crazy, but you've got to humor them. And that whole idea of there's an idea, it's a hypothesis, let's test it, is organizational change, transformation, good stuff. So go for that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I had that in some of my old slides, and Nick's totally right. And remember, Denise, the way to do it is don't test, is this a good design or not? Test, does this solve the original problem we claimed we were going to solve? Because you can always run a usability test that says, this design is nice and people like it. Fine, but does it solve the original need? Does it improve the original task? If it does not, then let the testing speak to that. Bye, Scott. Good to see you here again. Kayleen said that was from Eugene. I don't know if Eugene is still here. Thank you, Kayleen. Let's see where we are in questions. Okay, next is evidently Kayleen's question from her boyfriend, who I think is also named Nick. Kayleen's boyfriend says, as a member of a consulting team, so he's not in UX, I think he's more on the marketing side. As a member of a consulting team, when delivering a project that requires some technical understanding, how much should I be educating different teams on the client side? I guess how much do you educate your client on technical issues? Good one. We like it.
I've been in this a lot. Question. Because one of my previous roles before I was in IT before I got into digital. I was a pre-sales consultant. So consultancy is my world. from my perspective, I would say you only upskill or train the client as much as you need to achieve what
Agree.
you need to
Just
achieve.
enough
Yep.
education.
Yes.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's free mentorship, coaching. I mean, I'm doing it all day and every day to everybody, but that's just the nature of the way that the three of us are and work. You're not being paid to train a third party, bottom line.
I would also tack on that it's good to, you don't want to volunteer things. You always want to have your finger on the pulse of the relationship that you have with that organization, and you don't want to insert yourself where it's not wanted, where it might not be needed. You don't want to run the risk of being condescending. That type of thing comes to mind. So just thinking about it from a relationship management perspective kind of thing. And you only want to offer it when you want to validate that it's going to be valuable before you do it. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I'll give you 3 cents for it. Okay, super. Moving on. This one sounds a little bit long. So I don't know if we want to, we're going to have to run with this one because it got highly upvoted in a chat room that doesn't even allow upvoting. So Charlene asked, can either Darren or Dr. Nick someday take us through their research process?
Someday.
Yes and no.
Okay, why not?
That's one of the reasons.
Why not?
Because are you about to answer that, Dr. Nick?
No, you are.
Okay, the thing that I was going to say is there's always that grandiose classic UX question. The research that takes place, what do we do? It depends. So the research that we do, there's one of my favorite books. I believe the title says something on the line of 100 different research methods, of which in my observation, there's 15 of them that get used regularly in the average UX circles. So when you're working on something, which of those research methods are you going to use? So there is no set UX research method, when it could vary depending upon what the need is. I mean, you go into one situation where you don't have any time, for example, and then I'll get off of this. You don't have a lot of time. You don't have access to a whole lot of people, but you need to get some research. It's one of those some research is better than none scenarios. And you end up doing some guerrilla testing. Okay, how much of a process is going to go into a guerrilla research scenario? Not a whole lot. You change the scenario a little bit. The next thing you know, you're doing remote usability testing. You change the scenario again, and you're doing ethnography. So it depends. So the name of the game is get as much under your belt as you can, know as many methods as you can, and then be ready to apply that strategic mindset to apply what you need to get the job done that's going to bring the most value based on that scenario, the needs, the timing, things of that nature.
Could you, Debbie, just restate the question? Because I think she was asking about what's your process. Was I right about that?
Can either Darren or Dr. Nick someday take us through their research process?
Yeah. So all of what Darren said, absolutely. But the real skill of the senior or the lead is being able to choose the right method in the right for the right research question and right research objectives. Yes. I mean, that's the very bottom line here. And that's why the three of us harp on about experience, because there's no book, there's no GA, there's nothing that can give you that. And that takes at least 5 or 6 years of getting it wrong, iterating stuff, learning the hard way. And you could ask any three of us a really hard research question, and we're probably going to come up with a reasonably good answer. And that's only through experience. So for me, I wouldn't over focus on the methods, because like Darren said, a lot of them are just BS. I mean, everyone talks about ethnography. I can't tell you when I last did a real piece of ethnography, right?
Yeah, people are like, oh, ethnography. And I said, and tell me exactly how you and a team of anthropologists are doing this?
Yes, exactly that, right? I mean, at best, it's a form of hands-off contextual inquiry, right? It's like, I went down there and I watched them do the thing. Okay, that's good and it's totally valid. it's hardly what I would consider ethnography, where I went to the tribe and lived with them and gained their trust, and you know what I mean, understood the secrets of the elders or whatever it was. You know, I mean, yeah. So sorry. The other thing I was going to say, that was the yes bit. The no bit is there's stuff that all of us do that is our secret recipe. It's our secret sauce. And I keep quite a lot of this stuff to myself. I'm really generous in what I give out to the world, but there's a lot of stuff I keep back, because I'm a professional contractor. We're all ultimately competing, and the quality of my work is really important. Also, if I put too much stuff out there, the wrong people, like these fake training institutions, will steal it and misrepresent it, a bit like a portfolio. Yes. And that's why I don't give too much persuasional stuff away at conference, because again, people will use it for dark arts, not for good.
Yep.
So it's not, listen, one day I totally will. And all the people I mentor on teams, when I'm given a leadership position, I will give it all away to everybody. I want to lead a team of world-class people doing next level research, which I've got in here. I just need the permission, the authority, the team to do it. And that's my angst right now. I'll shut up. Sorry.
It's all three of our angsts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, Darren, lean to your left. It's why I roll this stuff out, because I remind people that while good research takes science and technique, understanding which methods to do when, how you're going to do that method, planning it, executing it, knowing how much time it's going to take, that requires a lot of strategy, and I believe that strategy is like senior level and higher. I don't expect juniors and mid-levels to have that level of strategy. An example is a project we're working on right now over at Delta CX, and half my staff and coworkers are in the room right now, so you can speak to this. In March, we gave the client a project plan. I don't think we've been a day late on anything other than we weren't able to deliver some of our video montages with our report because the site we were using to make our video montages had a technical problem. Other than that, we have met absolutely every deadline for every phase and step of research, and now we're in designing and testing. And that only comes with a lot of years of all of this stuff. And even my team knows I messed up some of the estimations on that. I estimated too low to the client, but I'm paying the team for their real time. So I will learn to do better next time by eating it. But at least, that level of strategy comes with experience. And so, and also you would have to tell me what the project is, because we give a lot of very different proposals and research plans to different clients with different needs. Not everybody, it's not cookie cutter. Not everybody gets 1 week of planning and 6 days of recruiting and this is not meow, meow, meow. I put it nicely in a box and I'm selling you this package. Every proposal we write is handcrafted for our client from beautiful Corkwood here in Sardinia. So it's, it's unique and it's custom and that's all I can tell you. Nick, you're writing. What do you want to say?
Yeah, just a real quick one. Just a word to the wise, or a word of warning. There is a new breed of perma leader out there, and these perma leaders are people who graduated university, were suddenly a director, and have been a director in a C-level for the past 10 years, whatever it is. Okay, these people, whatever. I'm not casting any judgment on that, but when they're your senior at the top of your thing, they can't give you the strategy because they haven't done the practitioner experiential bit. And that's the power behind all of us, is our experience. It's an experience area we work in, and being experienced in it is a big, big fundamental deal. So these perma leaders don't have that. They'll get book knowledge, they'll go to conferences, they'll go to Jam, they'll read stuff on LinkedIn, but they don't have that second-hand information. They haven't learnt it for themselves. It's not valid knowledge in their mind. So be really, really careful. If you have to go on LinkedIn and check people's background out, sometimes that's a necessary thing to make sure that you're not sent down the wrong road, because I can't tell you, some of these roads are 6 months to a year, and you do not want to do that.
Yeah, good point. We do have 2 more questions in the known universe, but I wanted to quickly mention that if you're part of our Slack channel, we're running an experimental webinar tomorrow night that is free for Slack members to attend. The Zoom link is going to be in the live events channel in our Slack. And WordPress Guru, also known as my boyfriend, is going to be teaching everybody how to use the free version of WordPress and a couple of nice plugins to make your portfolio website. And that way you're not using WordPress.org and paying extra for their plans. He's going to be showing you how to install free WordPress on your own hosted plan. And then he's going to show you how to use WordPress's blocks and another plugin that helps you with blocks to make something that's fast and secure and not dragged down by too many bad plugins. So he'll be doing that live on Zoom. That will not be live on YouTube. Chili Pepper. Thank you, Chili Pepper, Ekta. Ekta says, Sriracha. Hot, hot, hot. So
when is this?
This is tomorrow at, I think it's 8 p.m. my time, 7 p.m. for you, Nick. Let me check.
Cool.
This is 8 p.m. Italy time, 7 p.m. for the UK, 2 p.m. for Darren's World, East Coast. It will be recorded, but let's just say if it goes well, we probably will turn it into a live stream. So tomorrow is the test version to see what kinds of questions people have, how much you can get done in an hour, but it's the test version. So making your own WordPress portfolio website will be tomorrow. And again, totally free Zoom webinar. We have 2 more questions and then we'll be wrapping up for today. So drop in the hammer, no more questions. I think it was Krishna who posted, I recently got a recruiter asking me to get a UX case study with design mockup in 3 days as part of a test without proper time and research. I opted out. I wonder, how do you handle such cases? So design challenges. So this person was asked to do a whole design mock-up and case study in 3 days, but of course there's no time and there's no research, so they said no. What do you all suggest to people being told to do design challenges? Darren?
No, I'm not a fan of design challenges. They are a necessary evil. I've heard about people opting out of the design challenge, just deciding not to do it. If you decide not to do it, you don't feel good about it. You decide not to do it. You decide not to do it. And again, there's more opportunities. You chase after the other opportunities. I'm not a fan of design challenges because I very seldom see them executed in a way that's fair to the candidates.
Right.
It's asking folks to do too much. I went into one not long ago where they gave me the scenario on the spot, asked me to bring up a design tool and put together my ideas on the design on the spot. You had 3 minutes to digest the scenario that they threw out there. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And then to make matters worse, the people who were evaluating me didn't have the skill to do so.
And that's so it was a complete, who is evaluating you and how?
Yeah. It's a complete mess. I remember, and I will throw the company name out there this time, I interviewed once with Johnson & Johnson, who I thought this was going to be a fantastic gig. It was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I live. I thought this was going to be fantastic. I hit it off with the boss. Everything was great. But there's also, and you have these things where you interview with 3 or 4 people, and 3 of them are great, and one of them is like, the devil in a, it's the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's just like, blood dripping from the teeth, the whole 9 yards. It just messes the whole thing up. And this one person, he didn't give me a design challenge. He didn't give me a design challenge. He wanted me to solve a puzzle, which is another thing that I've seen companies now that do that. They give you puzzles to do, which is, and the first time it was absolutely ridiculous. When I came back for my next interview, my last interview, I refused to do it. I said, because it doesn't make sense. I said, you're going to hire a professional puzzle taker.
Yeah.
You're going to hire somebody who's been studying these books and are familiar with the puzzles, but they can't do the UX work. I'm here to let you know that I can do everything that's on your job description, that I can bring value. I have a value proposition. If you hire me, there's going to be a great return on investment. I'm not going to sit here doing puzzles all week, I'm sure. So it's a bit ridiculous. So I'm not a fan of design challenges at all. Sometimes you have to do them. and you do your best with it. And a lot of times we overthink it. I will say that it's easy to overthink a design challenge and give them exactly what they didn't want to see, which is another reason I don't think it's a good idea. And people, I think they ask you to do design challenges because they don't know how to evaluate talent.
That's exactly right. I'm writing that down right here.
Before. Go ahead though. I'll hand it over.
No. I just wanted to just chime in alongside you, not get in the way. I'm sorry. Just yes.
Oh, I thought you were ready. I saw you writing too, but
it's my main thing is just to I agree, and I say in my HR training they have to go away, especially if they're being evaluated by someone who doesn't know how to evaluate good or bad UX work, or if you're evaluating visual design and this is a non-visual design job. So I advise everybody, whether you do them or not, don't agree to do them without knowing the salary, because I found that many companies will ask for a design challenge, sometimes even before they've interviewed you, and sometimes before you know the salary. Do not do a design challenge without being sure that the salary works for you. Because I once had a first interview with a company in America, and the interview went well, really hit it off with the hiring manager. And she said, okay, now we're going to have you do a little design challenge. It's got nothing to do with what we build, so it's on the up and up. I said, okay, I usually don't do those, but I'll consider it. And then I said, hey, wait a minute, what are you paying? And it was like 2/3 of what I was making at the time. And I said, oh, do you have any room there to pay more? And she's like, no, that's what we're paying. And I said, okay, I'm making more than that now. So sorry, I'm not going to continue. And she's like, oh, well, okay. So I'm very glad that I didn't spend hours, days, whatever on the design challenge, only to find out later they were never going to pay what I wanted. So learn who's going to assess this, learn how it's going to be assessed, and make sure that the salary works for you, because otherwise just don't bother. Nick.
Yeah, that's such great. Just in addition to those brilliant points, this is really a sign of immaturity. In the way that these guys have both said. These are people who don't know how to interview. They don't know how to recognize good UX. It's just cluelessness. So that should be huge red flags. Unfortunately, I'm only learning this in the later years of my career. So, but we're all seniors and we're able to have a certain level of swagger, right? When you're junior and mid, you're not. And I can totally understand the conundrum you're in, because you've got big evil corporation, which you've got very little leverage with. We might have a little bit more, but not a lot more, okay? It's just teeny. You probably want to walk away, because if you think about that, the sort of mentorship that you may or may not get is going to be of seriously variable quality. And that begs the question, why do you really want to go to that company? Yeah, sure, it's a cool brand, it looks good on your CV, but that's not going to help you survive or be better in your next job. And that's really what you're trying to do here. Right. So that's what I would say, you know?
Yeah, we could do a whole show on questions people should be asking when they're interviewing. So there's that too. Yes. The last question came in anonymously, and I'll let everybody answer it, of course, and then we'll wrap up and say our goodbyes. Are you consistently productive? Do you ebb and flow?
Okay, I'm going to answer this one. I'm jumping straight in because this is a me question.
It is. I didn't want to say anything, but yes.
This is clearly, obviously me. Of course I'm ebb and flow. I'm like the poster boy for ADHD. So I'm stop, start, yes, no, black, white, all of that stuff. But in terms of sanity, ebb and flow is my preferred way of working. I'd much rather work like a maniac and then take it easy and do that. The reason why I say that is it gives you breaks. It gives you time to clean your brain out, get focused back again. If you do things consistently, it can just wear you down over time. And so I'm a big fan of evenings and weekends when I'm doing that voluntarily, because I have dicked around during the day because my brain wasn't in the space, or I just wasn't in the mood. I didn't have the ideas. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, when my particular brain is on fire and it is apex, I'll pick it back up again and get it done. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of ebb and flow. Darren, what about you?
I am. I absolutely love the question, and I wasn't clear on it at first, but now I definitely get it, and I think that's the only sane way to work. I'm extremely tempo oriented. I would have said it's all about tempo. I wouldn't have. That's just the way that and so very tempo oriented, and so you have to. But I'm extremely intense, as you probably guessed.
No.
I am extremely, extremely intense. So I have to ebb and flow because I can't start work at 8:30 in the morning and go. Number one, you got to ramp up to get to that intensity level. Then you get there, and then you got a meeting at 10 o'clock. So you come down. And then the meeting is over, and you come out, and everybody wants to bug you, and then you try to ramp up again, and then you get pulled into another meeting, and then you get out and you crash. So you end up either blocking off time on your calendar so you can concentrate, or as we call it, head down work. But to work in such a way where it's like driving. You're going to drive that Ferrari in a very you want somebody to play the drums. You want to make sure that you are driving in a way.
Oh, thank you, Kayleen.
It's like if you're going around a curve, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, you can't drive too fast. So, and you work the same way. You learn when can you notch up, when should you notch down. You know there's a meeting coming. I'm not going to get too deep into this because I'm about to go into, I call it death by meeting, sort of borrowing from Patrick Lencioni's book on that. But you go into death by meeting. It doesn't make sense to operate at a fever pitch when you know you're going to be in meetings for the next 3 or 4 hours. So I will block off time to make sure, okay, I get to do heads down here, and here, and I'm going to make sure to work in a certain way around that. So yeah, definitely ebb and flow. You have to, because the tempo of the week sort of the tempo of the week sort of dictates that, I think.
Yeah. And thank you, Kayleen. Thank you so much for the super chat. Very appreciated. More delicious cheese. Let me know if you have any cheese recommendations. I don't have a good answer to that because I think of myself as flowing 50 to 80 hours a week. And I don't really, either I'm working or I'm sleeping. Like I don't have a good balance of things. I had a better balance before the pandemic because I was traveling so much to speak at conferences that there was just natural downtime. Like you are on a plane, and there's only so much you can get done, and you're carrying around a Microsoft Surface, and Acture is really hard to look at on a tiny screen. And, I had a lot of forced downtime on me when, in 2018 and 2019, when I was traveling so much to speak at conferences. I would say when I don't have that in my schedule, I very quickly forget time, and I work, 14 hours a day and crazy things. And my boyfriend does the same. So it's just like me here working like crazy and him, 15 feet that way, working like crazy. So I would say I probably don't ebb enough. But I'm powered by passion. So, I booked a vacation for a year from now. I hope it'll be safe to take it. But other than that, I kind of don't understand when I'm going to get a day off, but that's between me and me. I work for me. So if I don't have a day off, it's nobody's fault but me. But that's currently the way that I've scheduled my stuff. Maybe I can schedule a little break for myself in early July when our current big project ends. And again, hello to everyone in the chat room who's working on that project. You've all been doing an amazing job. Nick?
I was going to say, yes, just to kind of extend what Darren was saying, in many respects, it's about energy. And you've got like a tank of petrol or gas, whatever you call that, right? And if you're looking at your day or your week, you're going to see there are pots where you really need to dig deep. Like for me, it's user testing at the moment. That's when you need to kind of ebb early so that you can really flow. It's basically so you can really, in my ADHD world, it's called triggering your hyperfocus, right? It's getting me into a zone where I can go at really 6th or 7th gear, and I save that for the times I need it. It's like a reserve tank or whatever you call that, and then you do whatever you do to trigger that so then you can be really excellent. So the way I see it is it's a bit like business as usual, bubbling along, and then you kick up a gear and do that exceptional work for a short burst, and that's what works for me. But I mean, that can work for everybody. You don't have to be a neurodiverse freak like me. That thinking works for everybody.
You so freaky.
You made me think about the book Flow. Is it Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi? I believe is the author.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, when I think about flow, that's what I think about. And it's like, when you get good at recognizing when you're going to flow, and you can organize your time, manage your time in conjunction with that, because you know what's going to help you get into a flow mode, which is when you're going to get most of your work done. We thrive more when we're in a flow. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, I have to force myself to take breaks. I'm really bad at it. So
same here.
Yeah.
But the satisfaction and the productivity comes from that flow.
Yes, it does.
Right.
The
Kayleen
intrinsics.
says, Dr. Nick, I need my hyperfocus for everything.
I wish I had that too, but tough shit. Sorry, pal. Welcome to reality. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, since we
Drink
are
more coffee.
rounding, I'm allergic to caffeine. That's why y'all see me yawning through my own show. So I know I tell people I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, and it takes me a year to go through a bottle of cooking wine. So I'm allergic to caffeine. I'm the no vice chick, as I like to say. So on that fun note, let's wrap up, have everybody give some closing words. Darren, let's start with you. Closing words, and where can people find you, follow you, stalk you, ask you too many questions?
Sure thing. Of course, people find me on LinkedIn. You've got the World of UX podcast with Darren Hood. A new episode came out today called UX in the Ninth Hour, where I, for the first time, talked about what I call UX train hopping on the public eye. So you have to check out the podcast to see what UX train hopping really is. Of course, you can find me. I've got a Facebook page, which is usually just stuff that's coming through LinkedIn and Twitter and coming over there. We did just start a new initiative where we have it's on the line of what Debbie is doing with Slack. But we came up with, I got tired of the algorithms on LinkedIn. I got tired of missing stuff that people posted. I get tired of dealing with all the trolls and all the nasty people who chime into what you're saying just so they can start fights. I have my fill of that. We do too much. We give too much of ourselves to have to tolerate that type of foolishness. So that said, I did start a new social media network. We call it Engage. It's Mighty Networks, if you're familiar with Mighty Networks. And so we go out there and we can just post stuff that we know people are serious about UX can tap into. When people, they will not come over there and act a fool. They will be out there actually engaging. And we're just getting up to speed. And because a lot of people are getting, it's another social media resource. Yeah, it's another one. And we're there. We hope to bring values to get more people to come out there. I've done 4 issues of my new comic strip called Tales from the Indescript, where we're telling crazy, nightmarish stories, but putting a spin of humor on them.
Kayleen wants to know if she should catch up with your podcast in chronological order.
Not necessarily, but there's different series. Sometimes there is a one-off, like today's episode is a one by it's a standalone. Then you want to be a UXer. I think I did 9 episodes on that. Then I did another one about people transitioning into UX, and I think there's only one of that. So you can move around. The chat room's
asking, how do they get to engage? How do they join your community?
We don't have a chat here, and I'm not on LinkedIn. So reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will get you a link to Engage. I need to shorten that URL, but I will get you a link to Engage so that you can come over there and join in. And I hate the fact that right now it's like 90% my content, which means that it's almost like the Darren Hood show. That's not what we want it to be. So we're trying to get more people to start posting stuff. And then we've got the UX Chit Chat Hour. We're still having an absolute ball with that, talking to people from around the world once a month, usually the last Thursday of the month. So I'm any and everywhere. And today we're having the release party for 97 Things every UX practitioner should know. The book was released today. So we've got they're actually right now on a big Zoom event where they're sitting around talking to everybody. They're doing it again tonight. No. I'll see folks when I see them. I'm supposed to be here. This is where I am. And we're going to be together again tonight. As well, so I can catch up with them and say hi tonight to them. But check out the book. I don't know everything that's in it. I'm just glad to be. I like giving back to the community, as you folks know. So
I didn't apply to be in it because of some of its original direction.
Yes,
I'm with you, Debbie.
I didn't like its original direction, so I didn't apply.
That's why I opted out. But I absolutely love working with Dan Berlin. I'm going to say that on the show and give him a shout out. He just started a new UX research company, by the way, Watch City Research. But I enjoyed working with, and I actually I recorded, there's going to be a podcast in conjunction with that show, and he and I recorded the first episode. So I'll be on the first episode for that show as well. I love working with Dan. But anybody who says that there's no fight in UX, my closing remark, and that we've got to stop using the word fight, that person isn't going through anything when it comes to UX, and they have a grossly unrealistic perspective on today's discipline. And that's why I wouldn't be in the book before. So I shifted.
The T. Dr. Nick, where can we find you and stalk you and read about you and hear you drumming?
If people aren't having fights, you're not doing UX. That's how I see it, right? I mean, I don't think you can do UX properly in the world today. I can't see it. I don't want to fight.
Where is he? You're not having fights. We have to fight our way through this thing.
Yes.
His prey in the night, and he's
that's the wrong key, I'm pretty sure.
Of the tiger.
Okay, my name is Nick Fine. I'm a user experience consultant. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm kind of trying to be a bit more quiet. Over the weekend, I posted a very bad post with the best intentions, which went down like a lead balloon. That's the story of my professional life, is trying to help and killing with care and then getting roasted for it. So I think most of the biggest mistakes I've made have been with the best intentions. So I'm probably going to, I'm not taking a hiatus. I'm just kind of, I'm still there on LinkedIn. I'll probably do it again in a couple of days and just post something inflammatory. But for the moment, I'm trying to be a good boy. Please do check out UX Psychology on YouTube. My think tank series needs an update. Again, I'm trying not to post content whilst I'm in this funk, because the truth is going to come out hard, and that's not going to do anyone any favors. So I'm totally here if you need any help. If you're going to message me on LinkedIn, please mention that you're one of Debbie's crew, or you're watching Delta CX or part of that, and it helps me kind of prioritize you. Thank you very much.
Get to the head of the line with Dr. Nick. Well, thanks to everybody for hanging out today. Oh, Darren, what?
I forgot one thing. Thank you for helping me to get to 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And so UX Uncensored did reach. I forgot to mention that. We did get to 100. So they let me customize my URL. So now we can build from there.
Good, nice. Good. You did it. All right, so tomorrow is the Slack channel meetup on AirMeet for those of you who want to do the video call. Again, if you join the Slack channel, which is totally free, deltacx.link/join Slack, join the live events channel, and you'll always be updated on all the things that we are up to. It posts a day before and 15 minutes before, little reminders of what we're up to. So catch us there. And other than that, we'll see these guys again in about a month, right after Dr. Nick's birthday. And what? Eat a cake. And yeah, and then we've got a few more things planned, so I have to look up what they even are. But I'm in the process of trying to book more stuff with people, but it's not a lot has come through yet. So mostly office hours and reactions until like, who's this? Oh, yeah, Daniel Engelberg's going to be on the show, and I think we have Michelle Ronson coming up, possibly. But anyway, I'll join Slack. They'll tell you there. And Caroline just added you on LinkedIn. Thank you. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to play us out of here. Be well. Wear 17 masks, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks. Bye. Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation